man noticed something strange while reading a book. The cleaner in front of him secretly stuffed some leftover hamburger into her pocket every time she cleared a tray. He sneered, thinking she was just a poor woman trying to sneak some free food. However, when she passed by, the man was mesmerized by her exquisite features and model physique. Unable to contain himself, he took out a business card claiming to be a photographer looking for models. Little did he know, this card would change Wary's life. But in that moment, she thought he was a scammer and kept her head down without a word. She planned to ask her best friend about it, but walked in on her exercising with her boyfriend. Wary's angrily pointed at Marilyn, calling her a bad woman. She said a woman who has undergone female genital mutilation, FGM, absolutely cannot do such things before her wedding night. Marilyn looked puzzled, having no idea what FGM was. So Wary's lifted her skirt to show Marilyn her body. Marilyn was stunned.
They cut everything away and then sewed it up.
She couldn't imagine the pain Wary's had endured. Then she showed Wary's what a normal woman's body looked like.
Your mother?
Marilyn told her with a trembling voice that no one here would cut away part of their body. Upon hearing this, Wary's couldn't hold back her tears. Her beliefs of over 20 years shattered in an instant. Turned out, not all women had to suffer this way. So, with Marilyn by her side, Wary's mustered the courage to go to the hospital, hoping to repair the damage through surgery. The pain of FGM had always tormented her. The hardest part was during her period each month. Because the vaginal opening was so narrow, it was difficult for menstrual blood to flow out. The pain made her break out in a cold sweat. Even going to the bathroom became a long, excruciating ordeal. When the doctor saw her mutilation, he was deeply shaken. Setting down his tools, he said with a quivering voice,
I can't give you back what's been taken away, but at least I can make sure it won't hurt, okay?
Wary's couldn't understand such complex English, so the doctor called over a Somali male nurse. The doctor said he would operate on her as soon as possible, but the nurse mistranslated it.
Well, tell her she's doing the right thing. I mean, it's amazing she's put up with this for so long. She must be in absolute constant torment, but she mustn't worry. He can fix it.
Sure. haddii aad bedesho waxaa tahay waxaa siraysaa waalidka dadkaaga iyo dhaqankaaga isku xishood.
The male nurse's words deeply wounded Wary's. She fled the operating room and wandered aimlessly in the streets. She stopped blankly in front of a shop window, drawn to a Middle Eastern woman. The woman was fully veiled in black, with only her eyes exposed. Those eyes seemed to tell the story of their shared miserable fate. Wary's mind instantly flashed back to her FGM at age 3. The cutter ignored her heart-wrenching screams and directly cut off her genitals without any anesthesia, then haphazardly stitched up the wound with thorns. Such cruelty was all to ensure the groom married a virgin. Many girls died from infected wounds. Wary's 2 older sisters met this fate. She was lucky to survive, but the suffering had only just begun. When she first got her period at 12, her mother said it was a good thing, proving she had become a real woman. However, not long after, her father sold her to a 60-year-old man for the price of 5 camels, to be his 4th wife. The night before the wedding, Wary's cried in fear and begged.
talada aabaha ma diidi karin mudana galool wuxuu kaa bixiyay 5 halaad.
But Wary's refused to let her life be ruined like this. So, under the cover of night, she mustered the courage to flee to her grandmother's. Her mother watched it all, only able to silently cry and bless her daughter. Over the next few days, Wary's trekked over rocky terrain with her bare feet, leaving a trail of blood. When tired, she collapsed to sleep on the ground. When hungry, she chewed on bitter leaves. She battled hunger and thirst in the desert, nearly giving up several times. But she knew clearly, what lay ahead might not be a bright tomorrow, but turning back would definitely lead to an endless abyss. After walking for who knows how long, Wary's finally encountered a truck willing to give her a ride. But in the middle of the night, the driver tried to assault her. Without hesitation, Wary's grabbed a rock and smashed it at him, narrowly escaping. A few days later, she finally arrived at her grandmother's house. Utterly exhausted, she finally ate her first full meal in days. When the darkness disperses, there will finally be a clear starry sky. We are all the weak in the vast ocean of fate. Although we can't choose divine power, we can choose courage. Although we can't escape the swamp, we can choose to crawl out of the mire and bravely turn to a new chapter. Since she had the courage to escape back then, why not have the courage to break free of her shackles now? Wary's didn't hesitate anymore. She resolutely returned to the hospital to complete the reconstructive surgery. After being discharged, she ran into the man who gave her his card again at work, but she still ignored him. The man said self-deprecatingly,
I knew you wouldn't call me. It's all right, it's all right. In fact, I'd have probably been a bit disappointed if you had.
Wary's told Marilyn about this, half believing, half doubting, and showed her the business card. Marilyn was dumbfounded when she saw the name. Turned out he was the famous fashion photographer Terry Donaldson. Marilyn advised her to seize this opportunity. The next day, Waries went to Terry's studio, but under the flashing lights, she was at a loss. Terry told her to think of her hometown, to think of her parents. In that moment when she let her mind wander, Terry quickly pressed the shutter, capturing her most natural and beautiful photo. With Terry's recommendation, Waries successfully became a model. Her agent was very satisfied with her looks and arranged more photo shoots. Waries slowly built up her confidence. But walking the catwalk became a problem. She had never worn high heels before, so she used her first paycheck to buy Marilyn an expensive gift and asked her to teach her how to walk the runway. The two practiced hard in the hotel hallway every day until Waries mastered it. Just as her career was taking off, the agent discovered Waries was actually an illegal immigrant. Her passport had expired 6 years ago. The agent was furious because if she was deported, all their previous efforts would be wasted. At this moment, the hotel repairman actually kneeled down and proposed to her, offering a sham marriage to help her get a passport.
I mean it. You know, we just get married on paper.
But arranging a fake marriage takes time, and they had to go to Paris next Tuesday. The hotel owner said he could get a passport quickly, but it would cost £3,000. Waries didn't have that much money, so the agent paid for it without hesitation. However, when going through security, Waries was taken away by immigration. Turned out the owner had gotten her a fake passport. In the airport holding room, Waries cried in heartbreak. She just wanted to live a normal life. Why was fate always so bumpy? She couldn't help but think back on the past. When she first escaped to her grandmother's house, her grandmother knew she had her reasons and didn't send her back. Instead, she introduced her to work as a maid. Later, Waries made her way to the Somali embassy in the UK. She slept in the garbage-filled basement every day. Her daily duties were washing dishes and mopping floors. One time she wanted to watch TV but was kicked out by the owner. She could only hide by the door and eavesdrop. Slowly, she learned some simple words.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Today is Your Lucky Day! And please welcome our first two
Today
contestants.
is your lucky day.
She worked as a maid for 6 years until one day she learned through the TV that the civil war in Somalia had ended and the embassy was beginning to evacuate. But Waries knew clearly, returning to Somalia would only mean going back to square one. Her father would still force her to marry. All the suffering would have been for nothing. So she decided to stay in London, even if she couldn't speak the language. Becoming a drifter. When hungry, she rummaged through trash cans for food. When tired, she curled up in a corner. Only after experiencing the long, dark night can one see the dawn's early light. Just when she was at her most helpless, she met kind-hearted Marilyn. One day, when she was hiding in the bathroom, Marilyn discovered she was an illegal immigrant, but she didn't call the police. She also found out Waries couldn't speak English and only knew 2 phrases learned from TV.
Today is your lucky day.
Is it? Brilliant.
From then on, Waries started following Marilyn. Marilyn found her a place to live. First thing the next morning, Waries cleaned the room and brought over milk. Marilyn was pleasantly surprised. Her room hadn't been this clean in a long time. Later, Marilyn helped her find a job at a burger joint, but because she was an illegal immigrant, she could only be exploited. In order to survive, she had to silently endure it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. While working at the burger place, Waries met Terry. Her fate took a turn from there. Thanks to her agent paying the bond, immigration gave her a temporary residence permit, but she had to report every week, which would interfere with work. To get a permanent passport, Waries agreed to a sham marriage with the repairman. To prepare for immigration surprise inspections, they had to live together. But gradually, the repairman showed his true colors. He just wanted to possess her. During an immigration check, he intentionally French kissed her. At night, he tried to take advantage of her while she slept. Waries nearly had a breakdown. She even thought about giving up on a UK passport and returning home, but Marilyn persuaded her to endure it. Once she got permanent residence, she could get divorced. After the storm, there must be a rainbow. Finally, the day came when Waries got her permanent residence card. She took off her wedding ring without any hesitation. After that, she began a global tour. She put on the black robe of Middle Eastern women, exposing only her eyes. Under the spotlight, she slowly shed the long robe, as if taking off heavy shackles. On the world-famous stage, she freely exuded her charm, her smile full of the toughness that comes from hardship. She was like a flower desperately blooming in the desert. Although life's heavy punches left her in a sorry state, the scars made her tougher. Although she cried over the injustice of fate, the baptism of tears made her stronger. The disdain and contempt became fleeting clouds. Her gut-wrenching sufferings turned into the beauty of a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. The trials she gritted her teeth and persevered through would transform transform into strength in her grasp. Her dim past shaped the her that shines so brightly today. As Waris rose to fame on the world stage, the BBC invited her for an interview. When asked which day changed her life, she mentioned her FGM without hesitation.
The clitoris is removed, and the inner and outer lips of the vulva are cut away, and the wound is sewn up. Only scarring remains where the genitals once were. The midgun left a hole the size of a match head.
At the height of her career, she threw herself into abolishing this practice that had existed for over 3,000 years without reservation. She stood at the podium of the United Nations, calling on the world to pay attention to this atrocity.
For over 3,000 years, the family truly believes that a daughter who is not circumcised is not clean, because what exists between our legs is unclean. So it must be removed and sealed up as proof of virginity and virtue. And in the wedding night, the husband takes a blade or a knife and cuts it open before he forces himself into his bride. An uncircumcised girl cannot marry. Consequently, she's expelled from her village. How much stronger would our continent be if this senseless ritual were abolished? Whatever happens to the least of us has an effect on all of us. When I was a child, I said, I do not want to be a woman. Why, when it is so painful and so unhappy? But now that I am grown, I am proud to be who I am. But for the sake of all of us, let us try and change what that means to be a woman.
Statistics show that every day, there are still 6,000 girls around the world suffering cruel FGM. But through the efforts of Waris and her foundation, over 30 countries in Africa have passed legislation to abolish this evil practice, prohibiting violence against women. Fate gave her an unbearable childhood, but she paid back the world with beauty and compassion. Heaven used a blade to take away her wholeness, but she used kindness to keep countless African girls intact. Perhaps this is the reason she was able to miraculously walk out of the desert and stand on Europe's highest runway. As Tagore said, "The world has kissed my soul with pain. I will repay it with my songs." Waris transformed pain into strength, broke free from her cocoon and became a butterfly, a tenacious desert flower. No one's life is perfect, but your resilience, optimism, hard work, and bravery can make your life shine. Only by crossing the bumps in your heart can you climb the high mountains at your feet. Crossing the chasms within gives you the courage to overcome the obstacles ahead. Don't fear the unknown. Every bit of effort is building up your strength to face the world.